Joe Esposito stories. The fact that this guy even knows who I am is so freaking cool. When there's people you can Google and they know you, it's pretty dang cool. And we met in Tupelo, and Tupelo is my favorite contest by far. I love that city. I love the people. And they're sponsoring the Hard Rock shows this year.
Yeah.
I'll be announcing details next week about that. It's going to definitely be Monday night. I think Jason's having some stuff downtown, like maybe Dean or Cody. So there's a big show Monday night. So we're going to do our after party after that. And I do apologize that there's not great seating for everybody, but that's kind of what makes it great, is it's hot, sweaty, and crazy. That's Monday night. Tuesday night after the semis. So we about, like last year, 10:30. And then Thursday night after the semis, 10:30. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to try to figure out some other options. All the tables, I didn't even get a chance to advertise them. They sold out up front. But I'm meeting with the Hard Rock here next month to see if we can't find other places. But just get up there, get drunk, sweaty, and lean on somebody. It's a lot of fun. And you'll see craziness. But I met this gentleman. His wife came up to me, and this was only my second year as an ETA, and I got runner-up to Tupelo. I could not believe it. So I might as well have won the ultimate. I don't care, right? And what's interesting about you beautiful young ladies, I got my last chance, I got runner-up, and I couldn't believe it. And there's all these wonderful people screaming and hollering and everything. And I didn't know who they were. And I'm in Tupelo, and they're introducing all the guys. Everybody's yelling and screaming. I thought, God, I'm going to walk out there. It's going to be crickets, And I walk out, the place erupts, and I go, oh, it's you freaks. It was all the Memphis freaks. And I was like, oh, this is where you people live and come, I mean, it's just such a great experience. But his wife came up to me and said, all right, I'm Tom Brown's wife, and I love Elvis, I love Tom, and I've had a great time. And she goes, you are my guy. And I started, again, crying like a little girl because she hit me. But anyway, and so Tom walked over to me, who are you? And instantly we went into this 2-hour conversation probably about Smokey and the Bandit and Elvis and all these great things. And every time I mentioned a movie, it just so happens we just start quoting it, like in the heat of the night of all things. Oh yeah, baby. So please welcome one of the most talented, interesting, incredible friends I have, Mr. Tom Brown.
When I was a kid, I used to watch Real McCoys with my grandparents.
Yeah.
When it was on. Walter Brennan, remember that show, like 63,
Yeah.
64? And Walter Brennan, I used to, at 3 or 4 years old, I used to walk around like that. Look, I'm Walter Brennan, I'm Real McCoy. Now I actually walk like that. They were telling their Joe Esposito stories. I have a Joe Esposito story. And he turned around and said, do you have a Joe Esposito story? I said, yeah. He said, tell it. So this is my Joe Esposito story. In about 2000, it doesn't involve alcohol though, unfortunately. Many of my others, sorry. Anyway, so 2001, I'll just insert drinking randomly. I'll just insert randomly. So in 2001, I was at work drinking, and that kind of fits. Yeah, it's closer to the truth than you would think. And I was working with Warner Brothers and Turner Classic Movies on the That's the Way It Is special edition, right? We're looking at the footage and everything. And I said, I don't want this to just come out on DVD or Blu-ray, or the DVD at the time, they didn't have Blu-ray, DVD, and not have some kind of context to it, not have a little piece or something, a little 5-minute documentary or something that would tell the story of what we're doing with this documentary and recutting it and why we're recutting it and all that. So I got some money in the department because I was drinking, and I said I want to put together a little mini documentary because we were going to premiere the movie on TCM, and then we were going to show it in the theater in Memphis at the Orpheum, and then it's going to be out on DVD. And so I got a producer. I had a staff of producers, and so I got a producer and assigned them. They didn't really know anything about Elvis. And I said, don't worry about it, I'm going to do it anyway, so I'm just assigning you to it for they were drinking. Yeah, exactly. And so I made a list of people that I wanted, and this is before I started doing Memphis, hosting Elvis Week in Memphis or Tupelo or anything. I was just a guy in an office in Atlanta that liked Elvis. And so I started making phone calls through our talent booker, and she knew who to contact. So we went through Graceland, and we contacted, and we got James Burton, Jerry Schiff, Ronnie Tutt, Glenn D. Harden, and Joe Esposito. And they were going to be in California doing the Elvis, the concert thing at the Universal Amphitheater. And they said, well, you can do interviews with us right around that time. Well, the TCB guys were here. Joe was in like Vegas, I think, or Northern California somewhere at the time living. And so we called him, and they couldn't get a hold of him. And the talent booker gave her number and my number, and for some reason he called my number. And I was sitting in my office, and Joe Esposito, he goes, "Hi, this is Joe Esposito. You were called." I was, yeah. Joe, I said, how you doing, Joe? And he goes, "Good." I said, and I told him about, we're doing this documentary on Elvis, and the guys are in Los Angeles, and we're going to be interviewing them, and if we could get you, in town around that time, we could do an interview with you to talk about what was going on in Elvis's life and why you guys were in Vegas and everything. He said, "That sounds great." And I said, we'll make flight arrangements for you and, fly you down and pick you up and have a hotel room for you. He said, "That's great." And he starts like wrapping up the call. And I said, "Joe, don't you want to know about the fee that we'll pay you?" And he goes, "Fee? I don't need a fee." And I said, "But everybody's getting like a little something, just for their time." And he goes, I'm doing this for Elvis." And I said, "Well, we're gonna give you the fee we're giving everybody else anyway." And I said, which was a bottle of booze. Which was a bottle of booze. He was drinking. And I said, we're also sending cars to pick up the guys and bring them to where we're shooting. And I said, "Is a town car okay?" Because they have limos and they have town cars, which are like Lincolns, that kind of thing. He goes, "I was just going to fly in and do the interview and fly back. I don't need a hotel room or anything." He says, "I can get a taxi at the airport and come to the Universal Hilton." And I said, "No, Joe, we'll send a town car." And he goes, "Well, are you going to be out there?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're going to have a rental car?" I said, "Yes, I'm going to." He goes, "Just come pick me up then." So I'm at the airport waiting on Joe Esposito to get off the plane, and we drive back. I take the longest way ever to get back to the hotel, and then spend a couple of hours with him, and we do the interview, and he sees the TCB guys, and I just stand back and watch them seeing each other, and he gets through, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You ready?" I mean, he gets off the plane just with no bags, and he says, "Okay, ready to go." And I drive him the long way back to the airport, and then I start drinking. So that's my Joe Esposito story. And if I can quickly tell you, I'm not an ETA, I'm just a guy who retells stories, so I'm an Elvis storyteller artist, I guess. My favorite Elvis drinking story, because Elvis didn't drink. He did not drink. He had his Pepsi and stuff. But I was at the Hilton International, Westgate, whatever it was, last year, and I was walking around with Jerry, and I was saying, "Tell me about the hotel. What looks the same?" And he was walking. He goes, "Those lights are all the same." He said, "All the tables are different." He goes, he said, "It was in this spot that Elvis and I came down one morning about 4 a.m. and started playing blackjack." And I knew the story, but it's like, you want to hear it from them. You want to hear it like, now you tell it. And so, because to me, Elvis had the songs and the guys have the stories. And the stories are like the songs, I can hear them a million times. And so Jerry's telling me the story. Elvis was upstairs about 3:30, 4 in the morning, and he got bored. He said, "Let's go downstairs and play blackjack." And Jerry says, "Well, let me wake the guys up. There's only Jerry with Elvis." Elvis goes, "Don't worry about it, man. It's 4 o'clock. Nobody's down there." So they get in the elevator, and Jerry's like, "Oh, this is a bad idea." He says, "There's nothing. I'm just one guy. What am I going to do?" So he said, they sit down and they start playing blackjack, and people start sending drinks over, and they start drinking. And they just get hammered. And it's about 6 o'clock, and Elvis leans back to Jerry and says, "I think we need to get out of here," because the crowd starts building up, So they stumble out, and they go outside to get a taxi, and they tip the guy some chips, for getting them a taxi, and they get in the taxi, and Elvis goes, "Las Vegas Hilton." And the taxi driver, and I love when Jerry tells the story because he does this, so I'll do it too. The taxi driver does this, turns around, puts his arm on the seat and goes, "Mr. Presley, you're at the Universal Hilton." And Elvis goes, "Thank you, tip him." They get out of the car and walk in and go on the elevator.
Las Vegas Hilton. Mr. Presley, you're at the Las Vegas Hilton. Thank you.